In the last year, we've seen a huge resurgence in smaller trucks. It all started when GM introduced all new versions of the Colorado and Canyon. However, the Toyota Tacoma has always dominated this segment here in the US. And finally, there's an all new version. This week I'm driving the 2016 Toyota Tacoma Double Cab Limited. Now, when Toyota first introduced the Tacoma name in 1995, it instantly became a huge favorite among consumers in the US market. The vehicle was the perfect size, it was very practical, it was a really great daily driver, and it had that Toyota reputation for being extremely durable and reliable, which has led to Tacomas having the best resale value in the segment. Some even say it's one of the best in the industry in terms of any vehicle out there that's on the market. So an all-new Tacoma is a pretty big deal for Toyota, and this vehicle really hasn't gone through that many changes. This 2016 that I'm showing you is actually the third generation of the Tacoma. Toyota tends to keep the body style of this truck the same for 10 years. The previous second generation was in production for 11 agonizing years, so it was definitely time for a redo. However, Toyota wanted to play it safe because they knew if they changed too much about this truck, they would alienate a lot of the Tacoma loyal buyers. I mean, let's face it, a lot of you probably own a Tacoma and you're just going to trade it up for the new one when your old one is due for a replacement. And you can see the design of the new Tacoma doesn't really look too much different versus the old one. I mean, it's definitely a lot more aggressive. Toyota wanted this to be a lot more masculine, so they basically gave it the same front end from the refreshed Toyota 4Runner. These projector beam headlights, halogen headlights are standard. The up-level trims, the TRDs and up, will have LED daytime running lights and fog lights. My particular Limited is the top trim. There are 5 different grades to choose from for 2016. For 2017, Toyota did add a 6th grade, the TRD Pro model, which actually sits at the top of the lineup above this luxury grade Limited that I'm showing you. Now you can see I really like the design of the Tacoma's front end. I really love the LED daytime running lights. It kind of elevates the truck into modern 21st century standards. The grille looks particularly nice. My tester in this beautiful shade of Barcelona red metallic definitely accentuates the design cues of the current Tacoma. Now these 18-inch wheels on the Limited are a chrome finish. They are not particularly in my taste. If you guys go for the TRD Pro or Sport, you'll have a smaller wheel which has a different tire based on if you go for the Sport or the off-road model. Now, my particular one, being the Limited, comes in only one cab configuration, the double cab, which is Toyota's terminology for crew cab, and a short bed, a 5-foot bed. You can take your pick between an access cab or a double cab. Toyota did not bring back the regular cab for this generation. They also didn't really bring a stripper worker truck available. Like, for example, all Tacomas will have the raised suspension. All Tacomas will have bigger tires, as opposed to the previous generation. If you saw like a stripper's work version, it was very low to the ground and it was a very puny looking truck. All of them now have this kind of stance to them, which helps the truck look a little bit bigger, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more masculine. Now out back, the taillights on my Limited are specific to the Limited. They are chrome faced. The other Tacomas will kind of have just a red finish on it to kind of go with, you know, whatever theme or trim level you decide to choose for your Tacoma. Now overall, the overall length of this particular one is about 212 inches long. It's actually about 4 inches longer than the previous generation double cab short bed. Same goes for the long bed configuration, which sits at about 225 inches long. And it's about the same size as that new GMC Canyon and Chevy Colorado. And these mid-sized trucks have definitely gotten bigger over the years, but they still definitely are much more manageable versus today's full-size offerings. But I think the exterior works. The taillights, I think, Sometimes they remind me a little bit of that old Mitsubishi Raider, which is a Dodge Dakota. I'm not entirely sure I like the look of the taillights, but the front looks very aggressive. Enough about the exterior though. Let's take a look at the inside and see all the changes that Toyota has made for this all-new third generation. Now, this generation Tacoma introduced a lot of firsts for the lineup in general. My tester has the company's smart key access with push-button start. Here is the current key fob for the vehicle. All you have to do is keep it inside your pocket or your person. There is no remote start included on mine. I believe it's an accessory if you want it. To lock the door, you just have to touch this little pad here. That locks the door. To unlock it, just touch the back of the door handle, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior at a glance, one thing that really surprised me about my tester are these brown leather seats. This is the first time that I think Toyota is offering a factory leather on the Tacoma, and the fact that it's brown definitely shows that Toyota is trying to elevate this truck, make it a little bit more upscale on the inside. The Limited, by the way, only comes with this hickory brown leather, regardless of the color combination you choose on the outside. All the other trims will have cloth. Now, you can see my tester doesn't have a running board, which could be problematic if you're short. I recommend going for it. There's also no grab handle here, so I'm surprised that that's not there. It makes getting into the truck a little bit more difficult for me. I mean, I'm only 5'7", so I'm kind of short. I got used to it after a couple days, but again, you may want to consider adding the running board option. Now, shutting the door, it sounds decent. I've heard a little bit more solid sounding thunks, but again, that's really up to you guys to decide what you think sounds better. Now, like I said, push button start is standard on my Limited model. It is standard on the TRD, off-road, and sport trims and up. So all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to start the engine. And the gauges actually look nice. I really like that LCD helper screen in the center. And the Tacoma, this new generation, has an all-new V6. The 4-liter V6 is gone. It's been replaced with a smaller 3.5-liter V6. We'll get into the test drive later on. It's definitely got more power versus last year's 4-liter V6. Now you can see, looking at this interior at a glance, the design is certainly very familiar. I really like these circular vents with the chrome accents on the Limited that my tester is. It's very easy to use. I mean, I'm getting in this interior and I pretty much know how to use everything. The materials in here, it's still a truck. It's not going to be like super luxurious. All the dashboard materials are basically hard touch. However, the graining is very nice. Everything is solidly put together. There's some silver painted plastic here. It goes nicely with the chrome accents. The Limited model does give you this nice leather padded area here on the passenger side, which is a nice little luxury touch. Now, looking at the door panels, this is also leather padded here. Same stuff from the seats. It's soft padded here where your elbows are going to rest. It is hard touch plastic over here, but there is a nice chrome door handle. Now, I like the fact that Toyota gave you automatic up, down, one touch windows for the front. The back ones are not, but that's okay. I didn't really expect too much for a truck like this. Now, looking at the steering wheel, it's the same steering wheel that you basically get on a 4Runner. It's a pretty big diameter. It has nice 9-3 grips. The leather feels good. Most models will have a leather up steering wheel. There's a good steering wheel, a good amount of buttons here, controls for your phone, for the audio system, for the infotainment or the helper screen in the center stack. Your cruise control stalk is still down here. Now, one thing that Toyota did add for this generation is dual zone automatic temperature control. Even the GMC twins do not offer it. They offer automatic temperature control, but it's only a single zone. So this is an area where Toyota has one-upped the American competition. I believe the new Ridgeline does have this same function. You do have heated seats on the TRD sport and off-road models and up. The Limited, of course, gives you that. There's no cooled seats available in this truck, of course. This is still not a Tundra, for example. Now, looking at the center stack here, first of all, I want to show you the backup camera, which is standard on all trims, which is nice to have. It doesn't have trajectory, but it does have distance markers. My tester has reverse rear parking sensors because it's a Limited. You get that if you get the premium or tech package on the TRD models and up. The resolution is fine. I kind of wish it just had trajectory, but again, this is still a Tacoma at heart, so you can't expect all of the luxuries in this truck. But again, this will blow you away if you guys are trading up from your old Tacoma. Now, the head unit, this is the larger 7-inch Entune display. A 6.1-inch screen will be standard even on the base SR trim. And you can see here when you go to the home screen pretty much looks like this. You can break this up to just show audio entirely. I have it showing your fuel economy information, audio, and then navigation will be on the side. You can get nav on the TRD models if you guys prefer to have that option. Now, going to the app button here. This is how you access your navigation display, which when you go to the nav screen, it's the typical Toyota head unit here. It works just fine. I found that it gives you very good directions. The voice commands work okay. It's not really going to wow you with impressive graphics, but it gets the job done. This is not a luxury brand, like I said before. Going back to the apps display, this vehicle does have the text message capability from your phone. It has Bluetooth streaming audio. It has an eco mode. It shows you your traffic and weather from XM. One thing that is missing from this truck is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Toyota still has not offered that in any of their vehicles, I don't believe, so I'm hoping the company does rectify that soon. The GM trucks and the Ridgeline offers that feature, which is highly popular in today's market. One thing the truck does give you is a nice little wireless charging pad for your phone. Now, of course, I've got the iPhone 6S. It is not compatible with this, but if you got an Android phone or whatnot, all you have to do is put your phone right there, push this button here, and that turns on the wireless charging. Now, speaking of the buttons down here, you can see there are a couple of buttons. Here's for the blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. That is included on my limited tester. Your parking sensor button is down here. You have a USB, an aux port down there, another power outlet. This right here is interesting. I haven't seen the ECT power button since my 96 Camry, which is my first car. I'm surprised to see that button here, but that's basically like Toyota's sport mode. It makes the transmission shift a little bit later, a little bit more aggressively. Speaking of which, this is an all-new transmission. It's a 6-speed automatic, replacing the old 5-speed automatic in the previous generation, which also offered a 4-speed, I believe, when you had the 4-cylinder. It's got the traditional, PRND. It's got a sport mode as well, and it has a manual shift mode. No paddles on the wheel. This is still a truck by today's standards. Now, looking at the rest of the center stack, lots of cup holders and storage here. Love the fact that there are 4 cup holders. I like the handbrake right here, the more old school style handbrake, and the center console lid here doesn't slide forward, but it is a very good size. It's got a power outlet in there, and the armrest lid itself is padded but not leather stitched. Now, you can see here a moonroof is available as an option, standard on the limited. There's no big pano sunroof, it's the standard moonroof, which is fine. And you can see the glove box is also a pretty good size. It is damped, not lined with felt, but it does hold a lot of stuff. Because my tester is not the TRD off-road, you can see here there's a sunglass holder here. The TRD off-road model will have a crawl control feature here with selectable terrain, just like the 4Runner and the Land Cruiser. That only comes on that model. When you don't get it, you have a little sunglass holder there, so a little bit more additional storage. And overall, the interior of this guy is really familiar to me. I think a lot of Toyota owners, Tacoma owners, will get in it and feel at home. It's easy to use, it's simple, and the materials, while not overly luxurious, will definitely age very well and are very utilitarian. Now, the rear seat of my particular tester is obviously the double cab version, so you have 4 full-size rear doors. If you guys go for the access cab, it'll be the half-size doors, suicide style. And you can see the legroom here is pretty generous. I mean, this is about what you expect for today's standards. It will hold, an average-sized person just fine. 3 across will be a little bit more tight because the vehicle is on the narrower side compared to the full-size trucks. But again, there's no handle over here to help you get in. So without running boards, it's a little bit of a, hop and kind of just nestle your way into the back seat. But when you get back here, you can see there's decent foot space. This is where I'd have the seat to drive. I still have enough room back here to be comfortable on shorter trips, but shutting the door, you can see here there are cup holders here. No air rear seat vents, of course. This is still just a compact truck. There's no also armrest right here, which would be nice to have, especially when you only have 2 people in the back. And then the back seat materials here, soft touch leather where your arms are going to rest, your elbows are going to rest, and then hard touch plastic on this portion right here. Now, the Tacoma does give you a little bit more storage options if you guys need to put some cargo in the cab. You can pull this little latch right here, this little area, and you can see here your jack for the vehicle, or there's a little bit more storage actually underneath here, not the jack, so that's a little nice little area where you can hide some stuff. And if you want, you can fold this seat down to kind of give you a flat floor. Unfortunately, you do have to take the headrest out. Now, a nice new feature on the Tacoma this year is the damped tailgate. So when you open the tailgate, it doesn't slam. It is hydraulically assisted. That's standard on even the base model. Now you can see my tester has a couple of options on it. It's got this nice little tonneau cover, I believe for like $650 if you guys want to take advantage of that. It's definitely nice to have. And then mine also has the nice bed liner, and it has the shorter 5-foot bed. Personally, I would prefer the 6-foot bed. It's a little bit more usable versus this rather small 5-foot bed, but I like the fact that the tailgate is damped and it has a very good bed liner in it. Now you can see here there is a nice little power outlet back here, and then there's an LED tailgate light that will shine from that little light over there and then light up all your cargo in case you guys are loading stuff at night. Now, one thing I did have an area or problem with the Tacoma's bed, there's no steps to help you get into the bed. I'm kind of short, so when I had stuff kind of slide all the way into the back of the bed, I kind of had to jump my way in. There's no step on the tailgate here. There's no step here to kind of help you get in. So if you're a little bit short, Toyota didn't really think to help you get in and out of this bed a little bit easier. Some of the competitors like the GM twins offer that nice tailgate step just to make your life a little bit easier. The hood of the all-new Tacoma, Toyota has given the truck an all-new V6 this year. This is a smaller 3.5-liter V6 that's still part of the GR engine family, just like the 4-liter. Now, the D4S is Toyota's speak for the fact that it has direct injection, and it also has port injection. You can switch between that depending on the conditions, depending on the loads you're asking of the engine. The engine also runs on the Atkinson cycle, which is a little bit more efficient compared to the Otto cycle that most engines tend to run on. Now, the numbers are improved versus the old 4-liter. This now makes 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. The torque actually stays roughly the same as the old 4-liter. The old 4-liter made 236 horsepower, so you do get a nice bump in horsepower. Now, this is the up-level motor. There's a 2.7-liter 4-cylinder that is carried over. That makes 159 horsepower. I'd skip it unless you're on a budget because the gas mileage is not any better versus the 4 or the 6. This is a truck that needs the power to carry the loads to move the truck out just fine. Now, fuel economy was improved significantly. This particular one that I'm showing you with 4-wheel drive, it's a part-time 4-wheel drive system with a low range. It's rated at 18 city, 23 highway, and 20 combined. It pretty much matches the GM twins and the new Ridgeline, which gets maybe like 1 mpg better. Now, if you guys go for the 6-speed manual, which is available on this V6, it drops the fuel economy by 2 mpg to 18 combined. So you do lose the mpg if you guys go for the stick, which is something that I may actually go for. Now, this truck weighs around 4,600 pounds. It is 4-wheel drive, as I said. Let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? So it's been quite a few years since I showed you guys a Tacoma. In fact, the last one I believe I reviewed was a 2012 model. It was a TRD sport trim with the 6-speed manual and a V6. I actually really liked it with the stick. However, for this new one, which I haven't had a chance to drive yet, one thing I'm noticing immediately is the driving position still feels a little flawed. Now, I'm shorter. I feel that the steering wheel doesn't come out far enough. It doesn't have enough reach for the telescopic ability. The seats also still sit a little bit on the low side. Toyota did raise it, and you kind of get a feeling that Toyota is trying to make you think you're driving a bigger truck. The hood is really predominant when you look over it. So that may be your style, but let's see if Toyota improved the driving dynamics of this truck versus the old one. Now, trucks are not drag racers. You're not going to buy a truck to go kick everyone's ass at a stoplight and race everybody. So I'm not going to, be judging this vehicle too harshly on acceleration. Now, one thing I am noticing with this new V6, it does feel a little bit light on torque, surprisingly. You have to put your foot down really hard to get it to accelerate. And when it does, you're kind of, I'm left a little bit wanting. It's a little disappointing, to be honest. The old 4-liter V6 was a torque monster. Not really monster, but it had plenty of low-end torque, which didn't require you to rev the hell out of the engine, which you kind of have to do with this smaller V6, and that's not something that you should have to do in a truck. So I recommend really testing out this V6 and seeing if it's, if you're okay with the way it delivers its power. Now, it is a little bit more refined than the old 4-liter. The 4-liter, when you did rev it up, it was very noisy. It was a little bit not smooth. It just was very un-Toyota-like. This basically is the same engine in a engine family as in a Camry or the Lexus products. So it's a relatively smooth engine. I would love to drive this car with a stick, or with this truck with a stick, but with this 6-speed auto, it's a little bit sluggish in its responses, and Toyota did that to try and get the best fuel economy. Now I'm going to try an acceleration run again. I'm going to put the ECT power button on, which I haven't seen since my 96 Camry, the first car I ever drove, and let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, so when my foot was to the floor, I do notice the transmission shifts a little bit quicker. It holds gears a little bit longer, just to try to, make the truck accelerate a little bit better. And when I let off the throttle and hit the brakes, it'll also up or downshift automatically. So it does improve the programming a little bit. Really, again, I've seen this car 0 to 60 times range from like 6.8, which is on the quick side, to as slow as 8.6. And it honestly feels like an 8-second car to me, which is about a half second slower than the old Tacoma with the old 4-liter V6 and the 5-speed automatic. So it is a little bit disappointing. But, even though it does feel a little bit more sluggish, this vehicle now tows more. It tows up to 6,800 pounds in this configuration that I'm showing you. The payload capacity out back is like around 1,100 pounds. Class competitive numbers, the GM twins do like 1,000 pounds better when you go for the diesel engine option, which the Tacoma doesn't offer, of course. Now, the rest of the driving dynamics of this truck are just fine. The steering is probably one of the best steering systems in the class. Now, it is an electric power steering assist, but it's got a very nice feel to it. The steering is pretty light. This is what you want in a truck. It's not really that fast, but again, this is not a sports in. It's a truck. You want it to just feel safe. You want it to feel very easy. And the Tacoma goes down the road very nicely. The ride quality of this truck is surprisingly good. Now, my tester, being that it's a limited, has the lower profile tires, which low profile is a relative term here. They're 265/60s R18. So it soaks up the bumps nicely. This is still a real truck. It's got an improved strengthened frame, and it's got a live axle in the back with an independent suspension in the front. So it does feel stiff. I've loaded this truck up with a lot of stuff in my week's worth of testing. I loaded up the cab with 5 people and easily probably put it at the max, almost the max of its payload capacity, and it handles it just fine. It shrugs off the weight just fine. The only thing you really notice is the engine is kind of taxed a little bit. You have to rev the crap out of it to get it to go, which is a little bit disappointing, if I'm going to be honest, regarding the power delivery of this truck. I can't imagine how slow the 2.7-liter 4-cylinder is, which is why I pretty much told you to avoid it. You only got the 4-cylinder if you're on a budget. Now, even though this is an all-new truck, surprisingly, I drive it down the road and it feels relatively old school for me. I mean, my dad has an 03 4Runner that he bought brand new when I was in middle school, and he still has it to this day. And this Tacoma feels just like that 4Runner. I mean, it barely feels any different. It does feel bigger. It feels wider because of this huge grille that Toyota, tried to make you think that you're driving a bigger truck. But I guess they did improve the quietness in here. It is a pretty quiet interior now. It's got an acoustically sound windshield to try to filter out more noise. So it's a much more refined truck. I like the technology in it. The infotainment system here is good. I love the fact that there's a knob here for volume and for tuning. There are touch sensitive buttons, but the touchscreen itself responsive. It's better to me, this versus the Honda Link system that I've seen in some of the newer Hondas, because Toyota listened and left a volume and tuning knob on this particular on their upgraded head units. Now, handling-wise, the steering, like I said, doesn't really communicate much with you, but the Tacoma handles corners just fine. I mean, you do feel the body lean. You're not going to go attack corners with this thing, and it's really high up. In fact, one thing I love about the Tacoma is the fact that Toyota gives you 9.5 inches of ground clearance on all the trims. The off-road models give you a little bit more. That TRD Pro that's new for 2017 gives you like 2.5 inches more ground clearance. So this is the most off-road capable truck on the market at this time, especially if you guys go for that new TRD Pro model. This is not going to be a handling star. This is something that I'm going to take out into the woods, onto a dirt trail, onto the beach, the sand, and I would have no problem attacking those all-terrain environments and not fear of this thing dragging its belly the way the new Honda Ridgeline would do if you were going to take it in that environment. Now, that being said, the Tacoma is definitely not perfect. I think that Toyota definitely played it safe with this redesign. It just doesn't feel really that innovative or new to me. When this all new design came out, Toyota was really taunting how it was completely different. Honestly, I struggle finding things that are significantly changed. It still feels like a Tacoma with a new head unit, with a V6 that is smoother but feels slower, but it does have a few nice tech features. And I mean, overall, it's just a very played it safe redesign, which is okay, especially if you're going to trade in your old Tacoma for this. But when you drive the new GM trucks, I really find them to be a lot more superior, and I love that fact that they offer that diesel engine in the segment, which I'll be showing you guys a full review in the coming months. Now, regarding some fuel economy here, I want to talk about that really quickly. The the Tacoma is now rated at 1823. Now, the trip computer basically told me I've been averaging about 17 miles to the gallon. That's with me kind of putting my foot into it because it's very low on torque. Now, on the highway, I did push the truck to go around 22 miles per gallon, which I'm a little disappointed by, honestly. I feel like a full-size truck will do roughly the same gas mileage, just because this vehicle it feels so sluggish to me. I always have to have my foot deep into the throttle to get it to go. Now, the price of the Tacoma is definitely also something that has increased over the years. The base truck starts at just over $23,000. That's for a base SR5 with the utility package that subtracts like $1,800 from the sticker, that deletes the rear seat, and it basically turns it into a work truck. My particular tester, being that it's a limited, only comes in one configuration, and it's pretty much all fully loaded. Mine is stickered at just over $40,000, which is a big chunk of change for a compact truck. It's still a little bit cheaper, surprisingly, than the fully loaded versions of the GM trucks. But if you guys want to go for that new TRD Pro model, the Tacoma will hit 43 to 44 grand easily if you guys top that out. Now, my particular Tacoma that I would get would not be this limited. I would go for the TRD off-road model. I'd get it with the short bed and the 6-speed manual. I would prefer the long bed, but Toyota doesn't offer the long bed double cab with a stick, only an automatic, so I'm limited to the short bed. I would add the premium and technology package, which basically gives you the dual zone automatic climate control, the heated seats, the blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert that my tester had, which is, by the way, is the only piece of driver assistance tech available on this truck. You could pick up a Tacoma like that, which is the way I configure it, for around 36, which to me is a little bit more reasonable versus this 40 grand that my tester is asking for. But nevertheless, I have to say that even though I'm a little disappointed with the Tacoma's acceleration, as an everyday truck, it drives very nicely. It's quiet, it rides well, the seats are pretty comfortable for me, and the interior is very easy to use, has most of the tech that I expect, while it's missing a couple of things that I would like to see. But overall, if you're in the market for a mid-sized truck like this, the Tacoma is definitely still worth a look, especially if you guys really favor its high resale value and its very dependable reliability scores. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my overview of this 2016 Toyota Tacoma Limited. If you're in the market for a mid-sized truck, definitely check this one out. If you're also looking to see the latest vehicles that I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, keep subscribed to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.